Bitcoin has crashed 68% from its peak. Hedge funds are dumping ETFs and the global economy might already be in recession. So the real question is, should you buy Bitcoin ETFs right now or stay away from them? It's like having a voucher for bananas instead of actually having the bananas themselves. But the real question is, does it make sense to own banana vouchers right now? Today the market is shaking, okay? And Bitcoin has fallen 68% from its highest peak in 2025. In this video, I'm going to tell you whether it makes sense to buy Bitcoin ETFs right now, because Bitcoin has recently gone through a bearish cycle and ETFs have had to sell many of their positions. The problem Bitcoin ETF face is that a large portion of their demand comes from hedge funds. These funds are not investing with a long-term vision. Their business model is trading. They use leverage, open fast position, and they also short the market to take advantage of price movements. This means the capital flowing into ETFs is not necessarily trying to accumulate Bitcoin for years. In many cases, it's simply trying to profit from short-term movements. When large inflows enter, the ETFs buys Bitcoin in the spot market, but when those same funds exit, the ETF has to sell Bitcoin. The result is a system that generates a lot of activity, a lot of dynamism, but not necessarily a stable accumulation of Bitcoin. Instead of steady long-term buying, what we see are circles of large inflows and large outflows that reflect the tactical operation of hedge funds. ETFs can increase institutional adoption, but they can also introduce Wall Street trading dynamics into an asset that was originally conceived for long-term accumulation. The market is already showing signs that we are in a recession. Just ask a pizza shop owner and he'll tell you he's not selling pizzas like he used to. Ask a recent graduate and they'll tell you they can't find a well-paid job like their parents once did. And in a recession with worsening macroeconomic conditions, high interest rates and lack of liquidity, risk assets usually fall. Bitcoin ETFs, whose main holders are hedge funds, will continue to see the asset primarily as a trading instrument, not as a safe haven. This will likely result in more capital outflows, which translate into spot Bitcoin selling. And we all know what that means for the price. Clearly, Bitcoin ETFs are not going to collapse, but what we can determine is that the market is in a recession, and Bitcoin is still not being seen as a safe haven asset. And even if Donald Trump puts on a circus and dances around trying to help the market, there's really nothing he can do except let the collapse play out. Another big problem I see with Bitcoin ETFs is the time mismatch. ETFs can only be traded when the stock market is open, while the Bitcoin spot market operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're trying to trade these ETFs, which already may not be the best idea because of fees, obviously, or if you're someone who tends to panic and exit asset when market collapse, you should know something important. You won't be able to react at any moment. Bitcoin ETFs are not open all day and not every day. They only operate during US stock market hours, Monday through Friday. For example, imagine that on Friday night Bitcoin loses 50% of its value and keeps falling throughout the weekend. If you own a Bitcoin ETFs, you won't be able to sell until the market opens again on Monday. By that time, the ETF price will simply adjust to Bitcoin new value, and you will have been forced to wait without being able to react. So does it make sense to buy a Bitcoin ETF right now? The answer is yes. It can make sense, even though the global market is showing signs of recession, and we probably are already in one. I personally believe this may actually be the best moment to acquire an asset like Bitcoin at a discount. Bitcoin is still a very young asset. That's why many people still don't buy it, or they sell at the smallest political change. But if your goal is to preserve the value of your work and back it with Bitcoin for the long term, buying a Bitcoin ETFs can be a very good option. BlackRock Fidelity Investments and Grayscale Investments are the largest ETFs. Personally, I would buy my ETFs with one of them and not worry about daily prices fluctuations. The idea of buying the ETFs is to hold it and protect it for the future. If one day you decide to transfer that wealth to a son or daughter, an ETFs will be much easier to handle than dealing with Bitcoin spot custody. Build your strategy, don't chase short-term profits. Remember that investing is like watching grass grow. The grass grows, but if you stare at it all day, it feels like it never moves. At the end of the day, buying a Bitcoin ETFs isn't really about predicting the market's next move. It's about deciding which system you want to trust with your time, your work, and your money. Markets will rise and fall. Hedge funds will enter and exit. Politicals will make promises and then disappear. But Bitcoin will still be there. So the real question isn't whether the price goes up tomorrow. The real question is, do you want to win a piece of the future or just watch it from the sidelines? Cheers.